I'm Gerardo Herrera, Communication Director at RiskMathics. Here we are at the 14th edition of the Risk Management Training Conference. And we have the pleasure and the honor of having with us Tom Sosnoff, quite a character of markets and media and, a lot of things in the US. Tom, if you can introduce yourself to the audience, please.
Hi, I'm Tom Sosnoff, and I'm currently the founder and CEO of Tasty Live and founder of Tasty Trade, obviously.
Perfect. Tom, I guess there are so many issues that we can talk about, but let me start with this. There's an ongoing joke in Mexico City, in Mexico trading circles, that trading in the future is going to be a bunch of computers, a dog, and a person, a human person. The computers working by themselves, the dog to take care of the computer so that nobody comes close, and the human to feed the dog. Okay. Is that the future of trading? Are humans going to disappear with all this AI, algorithmic trading? Many of these trends precede AI, but they have AI has accelerated this, let's get rid of the human trend. What can you tell us about this?
I am a pure and simple brains over bots market participant. AI and technology is wonderful, and it's going to improve every aspect of the financial ecosystem. Everything's going to be better. But the idea that you're going to be able to replace individuals or humans with a pre-programmed bot is very difficult. It's difficult for me to see how that happens in any other situation other than one with scale. So for example, if you're talking about market making firms and high frequency firms that survive on scale alone and micro pennies, the answer is possible. But if you're talking about everybody else, the answer is no, because as smart as AI is and as smart as technology is, nobody can predict what the market's going to do next.
Okay. Well, we talked about the fear of what the AI or technology are going to do. Now let's talk about the promise. All these new concepts, for example, token-based derivatives. What is that about?
Well, it's actually probably a step in the right direction. I actually gave a talk about this specifically last night. Tokenized derivatives will allow for the globalization of financial markets. So right now, for example, I live in Chicago. And I'm a U.S. citizen living in Chicago. It's incredibly difficult for me to participate in Mexican markets, even if I wanted to. And in order to bring liquidity into a place like Mexico, you're going to have participation from all over. You're not going to get that under the traditional regulatory structure. If the marketplace changes and becomes tokenized, so that, or at least to a certain extent of it becomes tokenized, then data essentially becomes agnostic, clearing becomes agnostic, currency conversion becomes agnostic, and then anybody can trade in any marketplace. It's the beginning, it's the genesis of true globalization.
Okay, efficient markets improved?
Every single technology advancement improves efficiency, which improves markets. There's no such thing as technology turning markets backwards with respect to efficiency.
Okay. You mentioned the word agnostic several times,
Yeah.
but regulators are not agnostic. How do regulators play in this scene?
Well, the challenge for regulators is that they're conflicted because on the one hand, they're trying to protect their jobs and they're trying to protect their closed ecosystem. On the other side, if you think about decentralized markets, they don't really have they don't really have a globalized regulatory body. They have individual regulatory bodies in each country. So that's the challenge. And so I think that regulators are going to be caught between, do we move towards a more decentralized model or do we stick with, this very closed ecosystem? And I think the regulators that stick to the closed ecosystem are going to die on the vine.
Okay. Interesting assessment. Let's talk about the reach. Do all these changes are going to expand the reach of financial markets? Retail investing is going to become commonplace?
Well, I mean, you're talking to an advocate for retail investors. Everything we do everything that I built over the last 25 years for Thinkorswim and for Tasty are all in support of retail investors. So I could care less about the institutional side of the market. I would love to see, to me, the individual investor, the retail investor is smarter. The retail investor has better technology. The retail investor has access to more marketplaces because they don't need the massive amounts of liquidity. And the retail investor is really the future. And the retail investor could be pro-tail, could be whatever, but they're the future of finance. So if speaking here, because we're in Mexico City now, if you want financial markets in Mexico to explode and market structure to explode, you're going to have to engage the retail investor.
Okay. Retail investors are the future. What do you think institutional investors see that part of the phenomenon? Do they see the expansion of retail investing as an enrichment of market or as a threat?
No, that's definitely not a trend. And they're conflicted because, if people want to manage their own money, then what do you need them for? I find institutional investors, to be in general, not nearly as sophisticated about investing as retail investors are. So the way I would answer that question is I couldn't care less what the institutional investors think. The future of this world is about democratizing finance so that everybody's on a level playing field.
Okay. Now let's talk about Tom Sosnoff as an online media character. Your programs, your conversation, quite enriching for hours long in an era that it said that new generations can only take like 30 seconds, like TikTok episodes. Why is it that you have been so successful?
I don't know. Maybe it's because we're very real. Maybe it's because we challenge people. I think, remember, we launched the first financial streaming network in the world, and we've been doing it now for 15 straight years. We do almost 12 hours a day. I believe listen, I love TikTok and I love, Instagram, and I love short form video, but it's entertainment. If you want to talk about wealth creation, it's pretty hard to create wealth watching a 7-second video. So what we do is we challenge people with math, probabilistic models, statistics, quant stuff. I believe in challenging people. I believe people are smart, and I believe if you can challenge people, you can build a business around that. And that's what that's how I've done it.
I think it's a lot. One too many finance professors, derivatives professors would envy you for being able to grasp, to catch the attention of younger generations with such complicated subjects.
There's one of my favorite finance professors in Mexico is here at this conference, and he's from Pan American University in Guadalajara, and he's a PhD in finance, and he has trained basically an entire graduate program, undergraduate program on trading. It's one of the best in the world. And so if you can get that kind of engagement and that kind of commitment from educators, and they're willing to take the risk, I think it's special, and kudos to him.
Okay. We are in an education conference. It's not only conferences by themselves, but education, training, actualization. Sure. How important are these events in advancing the professionalization of finance executives in a region like Mexico, Latin America?
Well, I think, first of all, so I have been on the retail side for my whole career, last 25 years. And the reason for that is there's only so many hours in the day. And so I have committed myself to retail investors, and I don't usually do institutional conferences. I came here to do this because I like you guys, and I think what you're doing is really important. And I also think that there are places in the world where you have to start, you essentially have to build a culture. And I feel like Mexico is one of those countries where in the next, let's say 10 years, the world of finance is going to explode. But we have to start somehow organically. There has to be this like guerrilla organic movement, and maybe that's happening here. And if I can help just engage a few young people, then I've done my job.
Okay. Well, I hope that RiskMathics is here to help you do that.
No, this is RiskMathics is great. I've done 2 years in a row now, and I've met some amazing people, and the level of content here and the level of education it's really special. And I think what you're doing by diversifying the people that are talking, so you're getting people from, like, for example, from the US, from other countries, you're getting a lot of different viewpoints, and that's really important to kind of engage people.
Okay. Tom, thank you very much and hope to see you again in the Risk Management Training Conference.
Thanks so much.
I'm Gerardo Herrera and see you in the next interview at the Risk Management and Training Conference 2025. Thank you very much.